Welcome to Lesson 4 in Unit 21, From Sun to Food. In this lesson, students will work together to answer the question, how do plants grow? In this lesson, students use a modeling activity that demonstrates how matter and energy move in and out of a plant during photosynthesis. Students figure out that plants make food through a chemical process that uses energy from the sun to convert air and water into a new form of matter. Students make connections to the storyline by considering how the plants on the pizza farm use light, air, and water through the process of photosynthesis to grow. There are several opportunities for ELA cross-curricular connections throughout the lesson. You can look for specific standard connections in the Unit 21 teacher guide. This lesson will take approximately 4 days to complete. For the engage portion, you'll ask students some questions about what they've learned about what plants need to grow and how plant parts help the plant get what it needs. You'll allow students to turn and talk and record a few responses on the board and have students complete the Plant Parts Student Journal page and use this to pre-assess their knowledge about the external structures of plants and the role of each plant part in the plant body system. You'll revisit the driving question board and add any new questions and highlight others connected to the learning goals of this lesson by calling attention to questions about how a plant uses air, water, and light to grow bigger and gain mass. For the Explore portion, you'll gather students around a space to do the How Do Plants Grow model. If there's time, do the activity a second time using the drought and no light scenarios to reinforce observations from the previous experiments. Use the How Does a Plant Grow model tutorial to prepare for this activity. Then follow the activity directions to set up and conduct the model. Pause this video to review the list of materials and photos showing the items in your kit for this activity. There is also a video available showing the activity in action. You'll then have students use the How Do Plants Grow model student journal page to add to the diagram following the model of how matter and energy move in a plant. Then you'll divide students into pairs to answer the question on the second page of the How Do Plants Grow model student journal page. Students should just record their initial ideas at this point. They will have a chance to revise the responses later in this lesson. In the Explain portion of the lesson, students will engage in a class discussion about their observations and learning from the activity. Use the provided questions to guide your discussion around the question, how do plants grow? The goal of the class discussion is to analyze student observations and think about how plants use air and water to make food in the form of sugar. You will use the discussion to create the Lesson 4 summary chart. From the discussion, students should understand that pizza farms need a lot of plants that grow foods that are on pizzas. Each of these plants carry out photosynthesis to make the different foods we eat on pizza. During the discussion, you can post and discuss the carbon dioxide and oxygen vocabulary cards. You'll then read and discuss certain parts of the book Living Sunlight. Use the Read Aloud guide to ask students questions during the reading. After reading, you can post and discuss the photosynthesis and producer vocabulary cards. You'll then watch a video with students. You'll use this video to review with students the inputs and outputs of photosynthesis. You'll have students return to their partners and revise their diagram and answers in the How Do Plants Grow model student journal page. For the Elaborate portion, you'll tell students they'll use the evidence from the activity to add to their model of how matter and energy move on a pizza farm. They'll develop a Gotta Have It checklist that tells them what to add to the model. You'll have students add to their pizza farm models and labeled explanations on the Pizza Farm Model student journal page. For the Evaluate portion, you'll have students work in small groups and use the Pizza Farm Model rubric student journal page and peer feedback table tent cards to provide feedback to each other. To support student sense-making across the unit, orient them back to the driving question board. Ask students, what did we learn about how plants grow? What additional questions do you have now? By the end of this lesson, students will have used a model to explain the process plants use to make their own food for growth. In Lesson 5, students will observe and begin an investigation on what happens to plant matter when it decays with and without soil. For more information about this unit, visit myscipartners.com.